Every great achievement in history began with one thing: a dream. Not a small timid thought, but a bold, daring vision of what could be. A big dream has the power to pull you out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. It becomes more than just an idea. It becomes fuel. It wakes you up in the morning and it keeps you awake at night. It gives your struggle meaning and your effort direction. Without a dream, life feels empty. With one, life has purpose. The power of a big dream lies in the way it transforms you. The moment you allow yourself to imagine something beyond your current reality, you step into growth. You start thinking differently. You start seeing possibilities where others see limitations. And you begin to believe that maybe, just maybe, more is possible for you. A big dream stretches you beyond your comfort zone. It forces you to think bigger, act braver, and live bolder. Think of every inventor, every leader, every champion the world has ever celebrated. None of them started with all the answers, all the money, or all the opportunities. What they did start with was a dream. A vision so strong that it refused to let them quit, even when the odds were stacked against them. The dream came first, and then the path revealed itself. Too often, people wait for the path to be clear before they allow themselves to dream. But it works the other way around. Dream first. The how comes later. A big dream also has the power to inspire not just you, but those around you. When you dare to think beyond the average, you give permission to others to do the same. Your courage to dream loudly becomes a spark that lights a fire in someone else. Dreams are contagious. The bigger yours is, the more it resonates with the people who see you chasing it. And even if they doubt you at first, deep down your courage challenges them to ask themselves why they stopped believing in their own possibilities. But here's what makes a big dream truly powerful. It doesn't have to be realistic in the beginning. In fact, the best dreams usually aren't. They're wild, they're intimidating, they're so big that they scare you. That fear is a sign that you're reaching beyond what's safe and comfortable. And that's exactly where transformation happens. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Of course, dreaming big doesn't mean the journey will be easy. A dream without struggle is just a wish. The challenges, the failures, the long nights of doubt, they're all part of the process. But the dream is what keeps you moving forward through it all. It gives you a reason to rise after you fall, to try again after you fail, to push harder when you feel like quitting. A big dream doesn't eliminate obstacles, but it makes them worth facing. So never apologize for dreaming too big. Don't shrink your vision to make others comfortable. Don't let fear convince you that you should settle for less. Dream so big that it forces you to grow into someone new. Because here's the truth. The size of your dream often determines the size of your life. And if you want a life of depth, meaning, and impact, it begins with daring to imagine more. The power of a big dream is that it shows you not just who you are, but who you can become. And that potential, that future version of yourself, is worth fighting for. So dream without limits, dream without apology, and dream in a way that scares you. Because one big dream has the power to change everything. Not just for you, but for the world. A big dream is powerful. But if you leave it as just a vision, it can feel overwhelming, even impossible. That's why the real secret is learning how to break a massive dream into small, clear, actionable steps. Because no one climbs a mountain in one leap. They climb it one step at a time, and the same is true for every dream worth chasing. When you first picture your goal, it can feel intimidating. You imagine the final stage, the finished book, the championship trophy, the business empire, the life of freedom. But the truth is, no one starts at the finish line. They start at the beginning, often small, often unnoticed. They start by taking the very first step. And that first step, no matter how small, is the one that matters most. Breaking a dream into small steps doesn't mean you're lowering your ambition. It means you're building a roadmap. Imagine trying to drive across an entire country without directions. You'd get lost, frustrated, and eventually give up. But if you had a map showing you where to go mile by mile, suddenly the journey would feel doable. That's what breaking your dream down does. It takes something huge and makes it manageable. Every great success is really just a series of small wins stacked on top of each other. Writing a best-selling book starts with writing one page. Running a marathon starts with running 1 mile. Building a business starts with one idea and one customer. When you focus only on the final result, you paralyze yourself. But when you zoom in and ask, what's the next step I can take right now? Suddenly progress feels possible. The beauty of small steps is that they create momentum. Once you take one, the next becomes easier, and then the next, and before you know it, you're moving. Progress, no matter how small, builds confidence, and that confidence fuels even more action. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first, it's tiny, but as it moves, it grows, and soon it has unstoppable force. That's the compounding power of small steps. There will be people who laugh at your small beginnings. They won't see the vision you're chasing. They'll judge you for starting small, as if it makes your dream less real. But remember this, every master was once a beginner. Every empire was once a single brick. Every journey was once a single step. Small doesn't mean weak. Small means smart. Small means sustainable. Small means you're actually moving forward while others are stuck waiting for the perfect start. Breaking your dream into steps also protects you from discouragement. If you only measure success by whether you've achieved the final vision, you'll feel like a failure most of the time. But if you measure it by whether you took the next step today, you'll always have a reason to feel proud. That shift in mindset is everything. It keeps you motivated, it keeps you consistent, and it keeps you focused on what you can control right now. So don't be afraid to dream big, but don't be foolish enough to think it happens all at once. Map it out. Break it down. Take it piece by piece, step by step. Celebrate the small wins along the way, because those wins are proof that you're moving forward. And before long, you'll look back and realize that the small steps you once underestimated carried you farther than you ever imagined. The big dream is the destination, but the small steps are the path. And without the path, the dream stays a fantasy. So be bold enough to dream, but wise enough to break it into pieces you can act on today. Because greatness is never built in one giant leap. It's built one small, consistent step at a time. Too many dreams die before they even begin. Not because the dreamer lacks passion, but because they keep waiting for the perfect moment. They think they need more money, more time, more resources, more experience. They tell themselves, I'll start when I have everything I need. But here's the truth, you'll never have everything you think you need. And if you wait until you do, you'll never start. The greatest journeys never began with perfect conditions. They began with imperfect people taking imperfect steps, using whatever was already in their hands. If you look closely at the stories of successful people, you'll notice something powerful. Almost all of them started with very little. What they had was vision, determination, and the courage to use the scraps available to them. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for certainty. They started with what they had, and they built from there. The problem with waiting is that time doesn't wait with you. Life keeps moving. Opportunities pass by, and while you're busy convincing yourself you're not ready, someone else with fewer resources is already making progress. Starting small doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Because the truth is, readiness is not something you wait for, it's something you create. Think of a seed, a tiny fragile thing. On its own, it looks insignificant. But if planted in the right soil, if given water and light, it grows into something strong, something beautiful, something full of life. Your dream is the same. It doesn't need to start big. It just needs to start. And the resources you have right now, no matter how little, are enough to plant the seed. Maybe you don't have the money, but you have time. Maybe you don't have connections, but you have ideas. Maybe you don't have the skills yet, but you have the hunger to learn. Whatever you have, use it. Action creates opportunity, and opportunity attracts resources. You'll be amazed at how doors begin to open once you take that first step with what's already in your hands. We often look at successful people and imagine they had it all figured out from the start, but most of them were building in the dark, taking messy steps forward, failing, adjusting, and learning as they went. They didn't wait to be fully ready because they understood something simple. Progress doesn't come from waiting. It comes from moving. The perfect time is an illusion. Conditions will never be flawless. Life will always feel messy. But if you can act in the middle of the mess, if you can start even when you feel unprepared, that's when growth happens. That's when you prove to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to begin. You just need the courage to begin. So stop waiting for tomorrow. Stop convincing yourself that once you have more, once you know more, once you are more, then you'll start. The only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is this: the successful ones began anyway. They started with what they had and they figured out the rest along the way. Remember this: you already have enough to start. Your dream doesn't need perfection. It needs action. And every step you take with what you have today brings you closer to the life you imagine tomorrow. We often underestimate the power of small actions, because when we look at our big dreams, the tiny steps feel insignificant. Writing one page doesn't feel like finishing a book. Saving a few rupees doesn't feel like financial freedom. Practicing for 10 minutes doesn't feel like mastery. And that's where most people get it wrong. They dismiss the small actions because they don't see the immediate results. But the truth is, small actions compound. Over time, they create transformation so big they almost look impossible from where you stand right now. Think about water dripping on a rock. One drop seems like nothing. 2 drops seem just as meaningless. But let those drops continue day after day, year after year, and the rock begins to change. Something as soft as water leaves a permanent mark on something as hard as stone. That's the power of consistent small actions. Every step you take, no matter how small, stacks on top of the last. And as they stack, they build momentum. The compound effect is like invisible interest on your effort. At first, you don't notice it. Progress feels slow, but eventually the results begin to multiply. One small step becomes 2, 2 become 10, 10 become 100. And before long, you look back and realize those tiny actions carried you farther than one giant leap ever could. The most successful people in the world aren't those who did one extraordinary thing one time. They are the ones who did ordinary things consistently, over long periods of time. They showed up when they didn't feel like it. They worked when no one was watching. They repeated small habits that over years built into greatness. Mastery isn't built in a day. It's built in the countless days you repeat the small, almost invisible actions. The problem is most people quit too early. They plant the seed but don't water it long enough to see growth. They go to the gym for a week and then give up because they don't see results. They write a few pages and stop because the book still feels unfinished. They expect instant change, and when it doesn't happen, they convince themselves it never will. But compounding doesn't work instantly. It works quietly in the background until one day the results show up so clearly that everyone calls it overnight success. But the truth is, it was years in the making. When you commit to small, consistent actions, you're building something much stronger than fast results. You're building discipline. You're proving to yourself that you can show up even without immediate rewards. And that discipline is what separates dreamers from achievers. Anyone can start with excitement, but very few can continue with patience. So, don't despise the small steps. Don't underestimate the daily actions. Every page you write, every dollar you save, every workout you complete, every small habit you repeat, they're all compounding, all stacking, all building towards something greater. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that it wasn't one big decision that changed your life. It was 1,000 small ones. Greatness is not built overnight. It's built day by day, choice by choice, step by step. The compound effect is always working, either for you or against you. The small actions you take can lead to extraordinary success, or the small neglects you allow can lead to slow decline. The question is, which way are you compounding? Because the truth is, your future is being built right now. Not in the big moments, but in the small actions you choose today. When people chase a dream, most of them start with intensity. They get excited, they feel inspired, and they push themselves hard for a short burst of time. But here's the problem: intensity fades. Motivation runs out, energy dips. And when that happens, they stop. That's why so many dreams are abandoned after the first wave of enthusiasm. The real power isn't in intensity, it's in consistency. Consistency is the quiet force that separates those who wish from those who achieve. It's not about how hard you work one day. It's about how often you show up every day. Anybody can run fast for a short distance, but the ones who go far are the ones who keep walking, step after step, mile after mile, without giving up. Success is rarely about one massive effort. It's about small repeated actions stacked over time. Think about it. Going to the gym for 10 hours in one day won't make you fit, but going for 30 minutes every day, week after week, month after month, that transforms you. Reading a book in one sitting won't make you wise, but reading 10 pages every day for a year will completely change the way you think. Intensity creates moments. Consistency creates transformation. The truth is, consistency is harder than intensity, Intensity feels exciting. It makes you feel powerful in the moment. But consistency is often boring. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep. It's putting in the work when nobody is clapping. It's choosing discipline over comfort again and again. And that's why so few people master it. They chase the thrill of intensity but run from the grind of consistency. But here's the secret. Greatness isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in daily habits. Champions are not made on the day they win a medal. They're made in the countless days they trained when nobody was watching. Writers don't become authors because they had one night of inspiration. They become authors because they kept writing, even when the words felt messy. Businesses don't grow because of one lucky break. They grow because of relentless consistency in serving, building, and improving. Consistency also builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're proving to yourself that you can be relied upon. And that self-trust becomes confidence. Suddenly, you're no longer depending on bursts of motivation. You've built a system. You've built discipline. And discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Most people overestimate what they can do in one day, and underestimate what they can do in 1 year. That's the power of consistency. Small daily actions may not feel like much in the moment, but over weeks, months, and years, they add up to something massive. Success doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. It's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. So don't wait for motivation. Don't rely on intensity alone. Build consistency. Show up every day, even when it's hard, even when it's dull, even when nobody notices. Because those are the days that shape you. Those are the days that separate the dreamers from the doers. Consistency is the bridge between your dream and your reality. Cross it one step at a time, and you'll discover that slow, steady effort is far more powerful than the biggest burst of passion. Intensity may start the fire, but consistency keeps it burning. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves is, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow feels safe. Tomorrow feels comfortable. Tomorrow feels like we have unlimited time. But the truth is, tomorrow is not promised. Life is unpredictable, and every day we delay is a day we'll never get back. That's why the most powerful time you have is not tomorrow, not someday in the future. It's now. Procrastination kills more dreams than failure ever will. Because failure at least means you tried. Procrastination means you never even gave yourself a chance. And every time you delay, you're not just putting your dream on hold. You're training yourself to live with excuses. The more you push things to tomorrow, the easier it becomes to keep pushing. Before long, weeks turn into months, months into years, and you wake up realizing the opportunity has passed. Think about it. The book you could have written last year could already be inspiring people today. The business you could have started months ago could already be changing your life. The habits you could have built yesterday could already be shaping a new version of you. But none of that happens if you keep waiting. Waiting doesn't build momentum. Action does. The urgency of now is about realizing that time is your most valuable resource. Money can be earned again. Energy can be restored, but time, once it's gone, it never comes back. Every day you waste is a day stolen from your dream. That's why successful people act fast. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They take the first step now and they adjust along the way. Fear often disguises itself as waiting. You tell yourself you're preparing. You tell yourself you're planning. You tell yourself you're being smart by delaying. But deep down, it's fear keeping you from moving forward. And the only cure for fear is action. Once you take that first step, the fear begins to lose its power. Think of how many times in life you wished you had started earlier. Think of how much further you would be if you had taken action the first time you felt inspired. That regret you feel when you realize you waited too long, that's what the urgency of now is trying to protect you from. Don't let your future self look back at your present self with disappointment. Every big change, every great success story, every dream realized, they all started with a single decision made in the present moment. Someone chose to stop waiting. Someone chose to stop making excuses. Someone chose to act now. And that decision changed everything. So ask yourself, what are you putting off? What dream are you postponing to a tomorrow that may never come? What excuse are you hiding behind? Because the truth is, there is no better time than now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Now take the step today. Send the message. Start the project. Write the page. Go to the gym. Speak the words. Whatever it is, do it now. Because your future is built on the actions you take today, not on the plans you make for someday. The urgency of now is the reminder that your time is limited and every second matters. Don't waste it waiting for the perfect moment. Create the moment. Act now, because later might be too late.